Today, we're going to learn about Newton's first law. Summarized in a word, it's also been referred to as inertia. Objects in motion tend to stay in motion, and objects at rest tend to stay at rest. This ball is resting happily on my hand, and it's not going to move unless I move my hand. Why does the ball keep moving? You might remember Monday's lesson of force. Gravity is pulling that ball, and the moment I move my hand, gravity wins until it doesn't, and it hits the ground, which pushes back up on the ball. So today's lesson, Newton's laws, from Aristotle to Ibn Sina to Newton. Yep, it's been a while. Aristotle first tried to, likely not the first. No doubt, many have thought, but Aristotle was the first one who was in the right place at the right time and with the right influence, that he was able to begin to describe the motion of things, from sun and moon and stars and the universe to just the rock and the inanimate things, the nature of motion, things that we don't think about anymore because it's just, ridiculous. They're somewhat common sense, but they really do get deep and at the nature. I mean, you could ask, how is it my hand is scratching my face? Well, my brain told it to. Well, wait, your brain decided it, but how did you tell your hand? Through a nervous system, you see. Well, how did that message, I want to rub my face, get from your brain to your hand with just the right touch and not a slap? The nature of the electricity. Well, how does electricity, that turns on a light, how does it communicate how to flex your fingers? Or you get to the nature and you ask the simple questions, motion, you really have to do some delving to get to some answers. Nonetheless, we get to Newton, and he has three laws of motion for us. And the first is that of inertia. So the law of inertia, an object at rest will remain at rest. In other words, things will do as they've always done unless something else happens to it. There has to be an event. There has to be a force. There has to be some imbalance in the universe in order to make things move. So the tendency of things to just sit at rest or to remain in motion, much like in space, if you took me for earth science, the ever expansion. It's going to continue to expand, the universe is, until something stops it. And right now, it doesn't look like there's anything big enough to stop it. Both of these describe inertia. Object at rest will stay at rest unless acted upon by an unbalanced force. This poor dog here needs some motivation. An object in motion will continue moving in the same direction at the same speed, no acceleration. That means no change in direction either, unless an unbalanced force acts on it. Sometimes that can be invisible. It can be magnetism. Magnetism is a force. If it has a magnetic draw, something that was going in a straight line might end up bending if some magnetic force is drawing it to itself, which is what happens with orbital motion. We're not going to talk about that right now. So inertia is a tendency of objects to resist a change in motion. You feel this every time you step on the brakes in your car. It takes power and force to slam on the brake, and all the momentum, all the mass and weight of that car begins to come to a stop. But your body also wants to be projected independently inside of that car. Here's a nasty accident, some crash test dummies, and we got to listen to these dummies. These are the guys that tell us what's going to happen if we don't put on our seatbelt or airbag. Okay, these are great examples of resistant motion. Had this guy known about inertia, he may have realized that he should have, we all do this, don't we? We think, if you've ever driven a truck or a trailer, oh, that weight, it's heavy enough, it'll stay put, air's not going to blow it. But we don't think about us having to slam on the brakes, do we? Can you imagine what this guy was thinking when he felt that? Boom. So the stone had momentum, right? The inertia was great. So right now it's going to take a lot of weight and power to get that thing moving. But once it is moving, it has a lot of momentum and can do a lot of damage, such as it was in this truck while it was moving. So a lot of little things to think about that'll be fun. What's Newton's first law? Inertia. What does it say? Objects at rest tend to stay at rest. Go ahead now, before we go on to the next laws, and pause, and you can watch now, or read, excuse me. You can now read the reading on inertia, do the questions, and finish the rest of this lesson. I'll talk about motion laws 2 and 3 Wednesday. What?